ladies and gentlemen, the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo.
25 years is a significant milestone. In this 25-year journey, you've demonstrated your determination to contribute to the socio-economic development of the country. I wish you and all your stakeholders rapid growth with many more successful achievements and the very best of luck. Accordingly, I declare MTN's 25th anniversary formally launched.
Education,
health,
economic empowerment.
At the heart of MTN's social impact activities is its commitment to the communities it operates in and its value of giving back.
The MTN Foundation was established in 2007 with the key objectives of doing good and contributing to the welfare of the communities in which we operate.
commitment.
Since its establishment, the MTN Ghana Foundation in the last 10 years has invested well over $13 million across its three focal areas: education, health, and economic empowerment.
Education.
In the area of education, we have building of classroom blocks, ICT rooms, libraries, robotic labs, and we also have provided scholarships to brilliant but needy students.
The MTN Bright Scholarship was set up to award well-deserving students across Ghana to pursue various courses at different levels of education in Ghana. Over 12 million Ghana cedis have so far been awarded to 1,300 Ghanaian students.
After I got the scholarship, things moved very smoothly for me. Here I am today. Thank you very much. God bless MTN.
The Teachers Improvement Awards program was designed to support Ghanaian teachers in the first and second cycle public institutions to upgrade their education at the first degree or master's degree levels. Teachers who wish to pursue courses in English, mathematics and science are supported to complete their studies.
I don't know the word to use to express how excited I am because it has relieved me from my financial burden.
Thank you, MTN Ghana Foundation.
Thank you, MTN.
Health. In the area of health, we provide medical equipment, including incubators and other medical supplies, building of maternity blocks in hospitals. We have also built CHIPS compounds in various parts of the country. On Christmas Day in particular, we provide children and mothers born on Christmas Day with baby hampers to help them along. We also support vulnerable people with the cost of their surgeries.
Other initiatives in the area of health include the Save a Life campaign, which organizes the annual blood donation exercise and has remained one of the National Blood Bank's biggest contributions since its inception.
Economic empowerment.
In the area of economic empowerment, we have so far been able to do 12 projects in that area, and these include, among others, MTN Hitmakers. We have supported micro businesses in areas of shea butter production, palm oil production. We have also recently empowered over 100 youth in relation to the repair of mobile phones. They've been trained and equipped with kiosks where they have been provided with equipment, a bit of startup training to be able to engage in that area of the business.
Community service.
The MTN Heroes of Change program was launched to identify and recognize selfless people who continue to sacrifice their time and resources to improve their communities and brighten lives. Over 1 million Ghana cedis have been awarded to various winners to improve their projects.
Compassion.
Today, MTN is not just a telephony company, but a service that makes life much brighter for its valued customers. And that is progress.
That is progress.
And that is progress.
And that is progress.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello?
Cast your mind back 25 years.
It was very difficult for an ordinary person to own a phone.
We had to move around in person to do business.
The introduction of GSM, or the digital network, brought cutting-edge technology to Ghana, an unrivaled service that no one else could match.
Leadership.
As the market leader in an increasingly competitive mobile telecommunications industry in Ghana, with almost 25 million subscriptions, MTN offers its valued customers a range of exciting products and services under pay monthly and pay-as-you-go services.
MTN was the first to offer 3G services in Ghana, and this anniversary coincides with 25 years of GSM technology in this country, also known as 3G technology. Since then, MTN has pioneered several firsts, including the launch of mobile money and most recently 4G Plus, amongst others.
Integrity.
MTN is focused on providing excellent telecommunication services under the philosophy of improving access to economic empowerment.
My life is brighter with MTN.
MTN understands that the best way for us to gain a competitive edge in a local market is to offer different products and services which suit people's lifestyles and economic situations, whilst allowing them to enjoy the best solutions and offerings.
Relationship.
MTN's network coverage is extensive, covering all 16 regional capitals, major cities, and many rural and remote areas. MTN continues to invest heavily in infrastructure to expand its coverage and capacity across the country. MTN has more than 70 customer service centers and hundreds of local agents across the country. Equipped with a proven record of technological innovation and a corporate culture that thrives on understanding telecommunications in emerging markets, MTN continues to consolidate its leadership position in the country. 5 key values have contributed to MTN becoming the leading player in the telecommunications industry in Ghana.
Leadership.
Innovation.
Relationship.
Integrity. A can-do spirit.
As industry leader, MTN reckons that the next phase of Ghana's telecommunications industry is in data offerings, and as such has laid the appropriate strategies that will propel the country into that regime.
And as we celebrate this major milestone, we say thank you to you, our customers, for staying with us throughout this period. Thank you to our people for all your hard work in bringing us to this point in our journey. Thank you to all our partners for your role in achieving this major milestone.
For 25 years, MTN has led the way in the telecommunications industry in Ghana. Today, mobile telephony is not just picking a phone and making a call. MTN service has ensured that it is much more than that. It is a way of making life brighter for our valued customers.
And that is progress.
That is progress.
That is progress.
Everywhere you go, MTN. Everywhere you go, MTN. Everywhere you go, MTN.
You're welcome to MTN Bright to be here to guide this conversation with our distinguished guest, who I will introduce shortly. From what I know, Bright Conversations has been happening since 2018, a laudable initiative to bring to the fore the shared experiences of our
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Who've achieved so much and reached a milestone, enough that we are able to learn from them. Our distinguished guest today is Reverend Joyce Aryee, who recently marked a major milestone, turning 75 in this modern changing world. She's still strong and sassy. I am 30 years younger than Reverend Joyce Aryee, but I see some common traits between us. We are both Achimotans. We both studied English at the University of Ghana, Legon. We work in the field of communications and PR. We are go-getters. We are also relatives. And it's for this reason that I'm deeply honored to moderate this conversation. And I really do want to thank MTN for this opportunity. Let's deliver a round of applause to welcome Reverend Dr. Joyce Aryee. Thank you very much, Reverend Aryee, for joining us. I will certainly come to you in a moment.
Thank you. I like the sassy.
On this note, some of you are joining us virtually. Thank you very much for doing so. You're joining on our Facebook Live, so just go to the MTN page, prompt your friends and colleagues as well to join. And we also want to welcome all MTN staff who are joining this conversation virtually. At this point, let me welcome the CEO for MTN Ghana, Selom Adadevo, to give his welcome remarks for the Bright Conversation today.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
So while we get to the explanation, once you hear from this we'll take
Let me go and coming in.
In terms of your public profile and your public life.
That is true.
I know you said that you grew up in Kumasi.
I did.
So tell us a bit about your growing up and what that was like.
Growing up in Kumasi, we lived in an estate building that was generally for middle-level public servants. It was new. We lived with beetles and centipedes and millipedes. There was a lot of vegetation around. My mother loved, raising chickens and raising rabbits. I didn't like that. They were very beautiful, but they ate a lot, urinated a lot, and we had to clean up after them. So, but that was it. My mother always had fruit trees around, particularly avocado and guava. I don't know what my mother had with guava, but there was always a guava tree near her. And we, of course, would eat it. And so we went to school. Primary school was in Methodist Primary in KO, a place called KO, which is near Ashanti Newtown, near Kejetia. And then from there, we went to middle school. The joy about going to primary school at that age was that most of us walked barefoot. And those who could afford shoes felt so bad, they also walked barefoot. And, we liked chatting. Even though you were given money to sit in the bus, there was greater joy walking and chatting and chewing sugarcane on the road, playing ampe on the road, and so it was really a fun time.
It was quite an idyllic
childhood. It was very idyllic.
Mm.
My mother worked as a public servant, so my sister and I, being the older ones, had to more or less play mother to our siblings. Our father had died earlier, so it was my mother who raised us.
How many siblings? Because a lot of the time when one individual in a family is famous, there's the tendency to make the other siblings invisible.
Well, I have 3 more siblings now. There used to be 4 more siblings, but one died, I think 10 years ago. I think so. He was quite famous in his own right, I guess. He was a journalist with GNA. Mm-hmm. I have an older sister who worked for many years at ADB, and I have 2 more brothers. One is in Kumasi still, living in the same place, but has done a lot of expansion. and the other one is here in Accra but lives in Spain.
All right.
So, yeah,
Still,
but we're all growing
still
up.
Very active.
Yes,
Great.
we're all growing up. My last brother, the one in Kumasi, just turned 60, so you can imagine. It's an aging sibling.
All
yes.
right. And that's Reverend Dr. Joyce Aryee. She's our distinguished guest today for Bright Conversations being hosted by MTN Ghana. At this point, let's welcome the CEO for MTN Ghana, Selom Adadevoh, to deliver his welcome address.
Very much. Good morning. Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes, Mr. Adadevoh, great we can have you. We almost wanted to say technology is a monster, but great, you're on. So please
I
go
would
ahead.
have said there was sabotage somewhere.
Welcome, and I have the honor on behalf of MTN to welcome you today to the MTN Bright Conversations, which is actually one of the initiatives as part of our 25th anniversary celebration. So welcome, Reverend Dr. Joyce Aryee.
Thank you.
Now, just many, if not all, will probably agree with me that, Dr. Joyce Aryee is a living legend.
Oh.
And, someone who embodies passion, beauty, style, success, determination, and on top of all of that, defies all the gender stereotypes and has shown us that it can be done even as a woman. So thank you for giving us hope and inspiration, Reverend Doctor.
Thank you.
So I'll just read out a few lines about your background for the purposes of the audience we have today, just to give them some context. I'm a big fan of yours, and it's great to be on this platform with you. Sorry I'm not there in person to be able to meet you physically. So Dr. Joyce Aryee, most of us know her as a former politician who spent about 15 years or 16 years working in politics. But she's also a business executive, and on top of all of that, she's currently a Reverend Minister. So she served Ghana for over 40 years in various roles in the public sector, like I mentioned, and also in the private sector, focusing on mining sector, focusing on PR and communications, and currently has her own consulting firm. So Reverend Dr. Joyce Aryee is currently the Executive Director of Salt and Light Ministries, where she serves. And she also serves on many boards, or several boards, such as the Kinross Chirano Gold Mine on the Ghana board, the Mentoring Women Ghana board, and the Roman Reed School Academic Board. Now, for someone who's achieved so much, it's no surprise that she has also been awarded several times on various platforms. So she was awarded for the Companion of the Order of the Volta, Ghana, by the President of the Republic in 2006. She's also a recipient of the CIMG Marketing Woman of the Year 2007 award. She also received the Inspirational Woman Award at the Ghana UK Achievement, the Goober Awards in 2015. And this was for creating change, paving the way for women, as well as being the first female to head an African Chamber of Mines. So congratulations and thanks again for the inspiration and for showing us the way. But that's not all. She has also received an award as the Public Relations Personality of the Year 2014 by the Institute of Public Relations Ghana, and she has been named in the list of 100 global inspirational women in mining in the world. So congratulations again, Reverend Dr. Joyce Aryee, and thank you very much for joining us today. I'm looking forward to hearing more about your story. But just to end this welcome, just to say to everyone who's listening that she has shown us the way, and we hold you in high esteem. And we're all excited about being on this platform with you today. Thank you very much, and welcome once again to MTN.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adadevoh.
All right, so we want to say thank you, Selom Adadevoh, Chief Executive of MTN Ghana, for that very illustrious welcome remarks for this program, Bright Conversations, as part of MTN's 25th anniversary. So, Reverend Dr. Aryee, the main theme for this discussion is you're sharing your life in public service and defining the parameters. Beg your pardon.
Yeah.
Now, would you say that probably you were born to do this? Because in Achimota School,
Yes.
one of the delights in my time was to stand at the administration block and go through the list of head girls, school prefects
Yes.
for both male and female.
Yeah.
You were school prefect
Yes.
for the girls.
Yes.
Coincidentally, Dr. Kojo Afarijan
Yes.
was head boy or
Yes.
school prefect. One would say then that probably you were born to lead.
I wonder whether anybody is really born to lead. I do agree that we do have certain latent qualities that probably, when properly harnessed, can help us to be in leadership. I think everyone has something to contribute. And I don't know, for example, why they made me head girl. I don't know. I don't even know how they chose the head girls, you know. But I suppose when you show qualities of integrity, you show qualities of diligence, when you show qualities of great human relations, when you show qualities of humility and a willingness really to be part of change, then I suppose there's always room. There would be room for leadership. Whether you're born or not is another one. You know, I guess it's people in royalty who are born to lead. But I think the rest of us, it's an aspiration for most of us. But you know, those aspirations cannot just be left at the level of aspirations. There has to be some evidence of the ability to lead.
And that's the way you see leadership.
That's the way I see it.
All right. Now,
that's the way I see it.
Yes, but nonetheless, did you ever imagine you would become a minister of state for
Never.
close to 10 years, for instance?
Never.
Did you ever imagine you'd be the first, chief executive of a chamber of mines, a severely male-dominated environment?
Yes, yeah. No, I didn't. Being a minister at the time of the PNDC was also quite a surprise. I knew ex-late President Rawlings. At the time, we called him chairman. I knew him in Achimota School. You know, he and a group of them, including his wife, came to Achimota when I was in Form 4. But somehow, we knew each other well. And so I suppose, having seen some qualities in me in Achimota School, felt that I'd be able to contribute something. Aside of that, actually, I was very active on TV and on radio. I used to be quite a frequent guest on, I think the program is still done, Sunday evenings.
Talking Point
Talking
on
Point.
GBC.
I was on it several times, you know, because I felt that, well, they wanted me to speak about issues, I would. And people thought I was fearless. I didn't think I was being fearless. I thought I was saying what was right. I remember a certain lawyer who, after each program, would meet me and say, "Thank you very much. You spoke for the silent majority." You know,
that's the women.
No, not just women. You know, because that was during the time of Colonel Champon's regime, and I guess to talk so, passionately about certain things that ought to be done was not expected of a public servant like me. But I felt that if certain things need to be said, then they need to be said. So I suppose with that and with the way Chairman Rawlings had seen me function in Achimota School, he felt that I could bring some value to the PNDC.
Do you look at the pictures of that era?
I have a lot of pictures.
My mother would always point to one particular one where
one?
you would be in military fatigue
Yeah,
with
I know.
a cap.
Yeah.
Was it to intimidate or it was?
No. It was almost something that we needed to do, and we didn't wear it often. It was only when we had to do some field work.
Okay.
When we had to do some field work, because President Rawlings believed in agriculture, he believed in tree planting, he believed in engagement. So some of these fatigues would wear them and go to a rice farm near Suchari. So that would be the time that you would see, because I don't like wearing trousers. So it's because I had to wear them.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. I always wondered about that.
Never to intimidate. You know, when you are in communications, you can't intimidate. You ought not to intimidate, because the whole value of communication is to engage people, not only because of what you are going to tell them, but because you need feedback from them to more effectively run whatever organization that you're running. And being a government that was not extremely popular because of all the militarism and the revolutionary style and so on, you didn't need to intimidate further.
I think
the whole atmosphere was
you did
charged.
make a fantastic impression back then, because
Yes.
there are many who remember your work of that era.
Yes.
So you were Secretary for Information.
Yes,
Later
that's
on,
the first.
Yes.
Then I went to education.
Then later on you became a Minister for Education, or it was
Yes,
still? Yes,
it was still Secretary.
All right. And then
Yes.
you later on became in charge of local government.
Local government, I was appointed, but I never took it up.
Why?
That's another story that we will have to talk about later. But I didn't take it up.
Okay.
But then I did a lot of work with the National Commission for Democracy, which is where we worked on the district assembly structures, and we again registered people to vote and oversaw the voting to district assemblies and so on. And even worked on the constitution. We toured the country discussing whether the population wanted a return to party democracy. But we did all that at the Commission for Democracy. I was the special assistant to late Justice Annan, who was then chairman, who later on became the Speaker of Parliament.
You've had a really wide-ranging professional experience.
Yes.
I understand you worked in WAEC for a bit.
I did. That was my first job.
Wow. And I understand you worked at the EPA as well.
Yes.
So your love for the environment, it's not a fluke. It's not a recent thing.
No, it's not a fluke at all.
It's been since back in the
Yes. And I actually also worked in the Museums and Monuments Board. Yes. I like areas where people don't give much value to. And I'd like to be able to talk about how valuable these things are. For example, at the Museums and Monuments Board, people always see a museum as a place where you put old things and so on. But then when you think of anthropology, you're thinking of things that people use as part of their lives. As part of their lives. For example, a lot of people don't know that in the North, we were actually doing iron works. We were actually molding iron and working with it. People don't know that there are certain structures that really describe our love for culture. Some of these structures, a lot of us don't know about. People hear about the Asafu companies. People don't understand the structure of the Asafu company, the fact that they had their own shrines and meeting places, that these were really the soldiers in the communities. It wasn't just going to war, but it was also an Asafu company is also a company that makes sure that discipline is in the society, and they would lead people to do communal work and so on. So for me, it was very fascinating. And I remember during my time, I introduced something like museums in education, you know, because as we sit here even, many of us don't even know the fact that pots were things we used to cook with, and that they were so resilient. You could still put them on fire and cook, and that pottery was a wonderful artistic work. We use pottery for traditional things like eating plates and so on. And then we also used it for medicinal purposes, because if you were going to do a local medicine, you would cook it in a pot, and it was healthy because the elements of the pot would not poison the medicine. You can't cook some of these medicines in an aluminum pot, you know, or a steel pot. You know, but we don't know some of these things, so we just ignore some of the things that will really make us proud as Ghanaians and know that we have contributed a lot to development. The iron process that I was talking about was using the lost wax process. This lost wax process is the same process that Egypt was using to mummify people, you know, encase them in gold and so on. And we have that process. We have that process. We've had it for a very long time. In fact, our goldsmiths still use the lost wax process. And how do they do it? They would mold what they want to produce, mold it in clay, and then pour the gold or silver or whatever they wanted to do, or the iron, and encase it in it before, after they've put it through fire. They'll break off the mold and then really work on it and maybe define it well. In a sense, even the art of pottery can be said to affect our bead making. You know, right now, we're using some of the lost wax process to also do some of the local beads which we get out of crushed bottles. Because you have to have a mold.
That's the glass beads.
Yes, you have to have a mold, pour it in, and then later on actually paint it before taking it back into the...
Wow, I didn't know you knew so much about those things.
Yes.
But let me just announce to everyone that we are with the MTN's Bright Conversations as part of their 25th anniversary celebrations, and this is in recognition of a distinguished personality, and which is why we are here having this conversation. I just want to acknowledge once again all our guests who have joined us virtually, those who are watching via Facebook or on LinkedIn, as well as all the leadership of MTN and staff who have joined us physically and virtually. In talking about all of this experience, it seems to me that at least by the time you became a senior public servant, senior government official, you had had some significant work experience and outlook. You talk about the kind of Ghanaians we should be. Now, a lot of young people see public service as a stepping stone to, you know, improved economic status, influence, and power. They would not have gone through the mill like you have done. What do you think about that? Is that just a reflection of the changing ways of our world, or you would encourage young people to at least, you know, serve in other capacities before assuming the mantle of leadership?
Yes. You know, public service is self-explanatory in the sense that it is an opportunity, in fact, a privilege to serve a wider community, the whole country, more or less. And we should see it as a place where we can give our utmost. It's a pity that the narrative about the civil service doesn't always seem positive. Interestingly, when you go to a place like Singapore, people actually go to the public service to have fulfillment, to give back to society what they think society has given them. So you'd find people who are doing well in the private sector angling to go to the public sector.
And I understand it's based on merit. The examination to get in demands the best
the
performance.
Rigors, yes, the rigors. And so I think over a certain period, we lost that sense of service that we ought to have. I think when we started having military interventions, there was so much fear that the public servants began to have. You know, it's almost like when the military would take over, they would blame, you know, a whole lot of wrongdoings on public servants and civil servants, and sometimes you would be dismissed by radio or something like that, or you'll be intimidated in some way or the other. I think that dented the respect and the joy of working for the public service which we used to have. Interestingly, Ghanaian civil and public servants were actually so cherished that other countries, a lot of our, you know, retired senior civil and public servants went to work in Kenya, went to work in, excuse me, went to work in some of these other, like Zambia, Malawi, and Gambia, and so on. And so the public service, and I'll add the civil service as well, the public service is a place where you really contribute to the nation, because whatever decisions and whatever activities are going on are for the broader nation.
But it seems they don't get that credit. It's the politicians who do.
And
that is why many are preferring to become full-time professional politicians, if there's anything like that.
Well, it's because as a people, we have always, as a people, put value on people at the top. You go to a community, and the chief is held in such high esteem. Plus the Ochiame, and everybody is angling to get, you know, the chief to be a friend or to be somebody they can go and see. And I think we've carried that into our political life without recognizing that really the politician is our representative. He's our representative. We have said through our ballot that he's capable of representing us where the laws are made and where implementation of public policy is accomplished. Because when you are in Parliament, you are helping with the law making. When you become a minister, what you're doing is that you are an implementer of the policies that the government has put in place. You know, so that also is public service. Whether you are an MP or you are a minister, that is also public service, because that is why you were chosen, you know. But look at you and me. The way we will, you know, I don't know what names to give it. We will be giving them accolades and so on, and pushing them to do things that they shouldn't do. How can somebody think that because the wife has given birth and is having a kojiemo or a naming ceremony, the MP has to be there? Tell me, why? Why should that happen? You know, and that somebody would be measured by the frequency they attend funerals, the frequency they attend kojiemo, the frequency they go to weddings.
And or contribute to these events.
I didn't even mention that, you know. So really, if we want our politicians to serve well, what we need to do is to also hold them accountable. Because we should be watching what they're doing, not necessarily to criticize, but to support what they're doing. Because an MP in my community is supposed to ensure that the laws that are made are beneficial to my community. I mean, I can't just
should we not re-look at what then we expect of the MP? Because the country, like many others in the sub-Saharan region, suffer from the underdevelopment malaise.
Yes.
And so thinking that MPs are just going to be lawmakers may not exactly be realistic in our
Initially,
time.
before we had the local government structure, the MP was also an agent of development. You know, he still is in the sense that if a law is going to be passed and it's going to be inimical to the well-being of the people in his community, he has to be able to vocalize it and help shape the laws. You know, the MPs don't just meet in the chamber. They work on committees. They work in committees. And a lot of the work is done at the committee level. A lot of the work they do is at the committee level. And I'm so glad to say that at the committee level, they are bipartisan. They think of the best ways in which whatever is coming would help the nation. Naturally, they would still be, they will stand on their parties and so on, but it is not as much, you see. And so whilst they're discussing these things, naturally, they'll be thinking also of what is happening at their committees. But now that we have the local government structure, the MP and the district chief executive are to really work in tandem. They are to work together to make sure that their areas develop. One of the things that is so difficult, and I'm saying this because a lot of us are not willing to recognize that it is so difficult to bring development in this country because the country does not raise sufficient taxes to spread around. I mean, why should we as a country still be dependent on development partners, you know, on loans, you know, to develop the country? I think that we should really seriously think about the little money we pay. You see, when you're paying, then you can actually hold somebody also to the way the service is provided, isn't it? Mm-hmm. You hold the person accountable for the way the service is provided. I know people have been screaming about this tax, that tax,
the recent
that
increased taxes.
I know.
Yes.
You know, people have suddenly forgotten that as a developing country, almost everything that we do in this country is imported. Almost everything. Even when you're running your own factory, that factory, the equipment you need is not manufactured here. And then the technology you're going to use, you know, we've seen some purloins of ECG. I would be happy to see the day in which these purloins, all the metals and so on, are produced here, you know, because it cuts down on cost. See how COVID has made it difficult for a lot of us to get some of the things that people went to China to bring, you know, clothing, Alibaba. There's somebody called Alibaba, isn't it?
One of the richest men in China.
Yes, but I think he's into all sorts of things.
Yes.
I've seen him on YouTube. Maybe I'm going to buy one of his bags or something like that, but this is just on the jocular aside. Yeah. But we need to grow our country in such a way that a lot of things that we require would be manufactured here.
Let me draw on that. You talk about us as a people and what we should do, what we should aspire to make our country better. One of the things that has been happening is people have become very cynical.
Yes, I like that word.
About our ability to do some of these things. Yes. People are cynical about actually the work politicians and public servants are doing. How can we shift away from that and also ensure that the youth don't get caught up in such cynical positions?
I think we are a nation with very high expectations. We have very, very high expectations, which is not wrong. But whenever you have high expectations, you must also have a strong desire to be a part of receiving what you're looking for. If a farmer wants has the expectation of having 10 bags of maize at harvest time, that farmer is going to plant what would bring him that much, bring him or her that much, and would put in a lot of work to be able to achieve that. Of course, he will need jute bags, he will need fertilizers, which he himself is not producing, or she herself is not producing. But the level of diligence, the level of sacrifice that the farmer puts in to be able to achieve that is something that we too should acquire, you know. So we want street lights, which is important to have street lights. But what does it take to have street lights? In this time of digital divide, when you can Google information very easily, it will be useful to find out. You don't even have to go to ECG. It will be useful to find out from ECG or from the Ministry of Local Government. What does it take to do street lighting? The poles that are used for street light, how much does one cost, for example? You know, what about the lamps? The lamps, how much can they give us light? How do we get involved in solar energy? Because all the panels we have to import, right? But after you've done all that, maybe good value. How do we also ensure that some bad people do not climb up and take the lamps? How do we do that? You know, because then that becomes an interest for the community. That because I am benefiting, I'm also interested in how everybody else will benefit. I think there's a name that is given to when a self-interest, I think it's called something self-interest. I always forget that phrase, you know, something self-interest. You know, it means that there's a self-interest, but that self-interest is not selfish because it benefits so many other people. I think there's a sense of nationhood, a sense of loving the country that especially our youth need to acquire. Because, you know, you go out to somebody's country, you're always referred to, even if you go and get citizenship, you're always referred to as a Ghanaian American, a Ghanaian British, a Ghanaian German, a Ghanaian Japanese. You will never get rid of your Ghanaianness. And so I think it is important to make sure that we instill pride first for ourselves and then for our nation, so that we would see ourselves as contributing to what we want the nation to become. That is what happens everywhere. In fact, people should go into politics for that very reason.
All right, and that's a wonderful way to take a break. We'll come back to you, Reverend Dr. Joyce Aryee, and you're watching or listening and following MTN's Bright Conversations. Our distinguished guest is Reverend Dr. Joyce Aryee, who is the Executive Director and founder of the Salt and Light Ministries, a former Minister of State for many years standing, and public servant, as she would like us to also refer to her. And we will take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
Please don't do this.
Yo, Nana.
Amanda just let me ride, you know. The things I've done for this girl, pa. Who old that be like me? I carry goods from Abublochi to Kaneshi.
Catch up with family and friends like never before. Just pay for only the first minute of your call and pay absolutely nothing for the rest of your call.
See, Amanda has left me. Huh? You know the most painful part? see. After 2 years for my hand, oh. Thank you. This is my last hope. Amanda has left me, oh.
See, bro, Mr. Fakusia left me, oh.
But you also.
Plus, you also get 50 megabytes a day just for your first call.
Could you, Charlie? Amanda left me, oh.
Yes, she made you carry load.
Oh.
Dial *550# to subscribe to MTN Free after once a day.
Amanda.
Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to MTN's Bright Conversations, one of the activities marking their 25th anniversary. Congratulations to MTN Ghana. Today, our distinguished personality joining us for Bright Conversations is Reverend Dr. Joyce Aryee. She's told us a bit about her background, what life was like as a child, how we aspire to leadership, and what we should have in our minds when we lead people, in spite of whatever role we are playing. We want to invite some of you who have questions for her. I'll come to other questions later, but for those with us in the MTN office, if you have questions, feel free to join us. For those who might have questions virtually, we're happy to take your questions as well. And I'm sure that some of the Facebook and online posts are also coming through. When I get that, I'll read some of them. So anyone here wants to ask a question? Okay, we have one person, I think. Great, go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And good to have you here, Madam Joyce Aryee.
Thank you.
I'm actually a fan of yours.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yes, yes. So my question has got to do with the changing of attitudes of Ghanaians. And recently there was a campaign of fix the country and then fix yourself. So from your experience as a distinguished public servant and a politician, which one do you think should come first? Should we fix ourselves, or we should fix the country before we fix ourselves? Thank you very much.
And if there's any other question? All right, so Reverend Dr. Aryee, I'll let you have that.
So do we fix ourselves first before we fix the country? I think we should do both. We should do both in the sense that none of us really is an island to himself or herself. So when you want something fixed, by all means, it's because you have an idea of what you think, whatever needs to be fixed, should be done, you know. Now, if we genuinely want to see things fixed in the country, then even the attitude that we have towards insisting that whatever needs to be fixed needs to be done is important. Are we saying that merely to criticize, or are we saying it because we genuinely feel that certain things being done ought to be done differently or ought to be done better? That's why I'm saying that both. Because whenever we create the impression that we are removed from it, somebody else should do it, there's a problem. There's a problem. Because
so we should do both. But that then draws me to another issue about who are the best people to help us fix our country. Because it's back to this point that, yes, going into politics or public service is glamorous, but there are lots of fantastic people out there who are unwilling to join and also build.
I agree. I agree. But you know, there's a structure in this country for decision making. And maybe a lot of us are either not interested in working through the systems or don't even know what the system is. You know, when there are district level elections, we all go and vote. At least most of us go and vote. And we don't only vote, we vote for an assembly member, somebody who's dealing with a much smaller area
And it's not partisan.
It is not partisan. It's not supposed to be.
It's not supposed to be, but
it's not supposed to be.
It's partisan. What we call an open secret.
Yes. So when you decide that you're taking part in this, then you should know that the person you're voting for is in charge of that small area that you're living and ought to be accessible, because it is at the district assembly level that a lot of development decisions are taken. I live in Abilingpe, and one of the main streets is called Yijua Avenue. It's really potholed. And sometimes when I pass by it, I said, well, maybe they are not minding us because it's mainly offices and the votes there are very few. That's what I tell myself, But the thing is, I have mentioned it to the person in my assembly, because we need to find out, the one we voted for, how accessible is the person? If you think the person is accessible but lacks what it takes to even vocalize what you're talking about, you need to help that person to be able, maybe write it out for the person so that when he goes to the assembly, he can raise it. That's what's happening in other countries, in the more established countries. If you go to the UK, the local government system works. When you go to the US, in addition to being a federal government, they also have districts, and these work. So we have to engage. And I think that when we're privileged to know what ought to be done, we ought to see it as a privilege. We ought to see it as a privilege. Every privilege comes with a responsibility. So that responsibility is that having been blessed with identifying the problem, we would equally be blessed with helping to be a part of the solution. Aside of the local government system, we also have our MPs. So there's nothing wrong in walking to Parliament House and even wanting to meet a committee. Many of us don't take advantage of that. But you can actually walk to Parliament. There are clerks there who serve the various committees, and you can have access and raise a certain point. And if you are persistent, our attitude is that, the MPs, they don't have time. They don't know. I don't think we're being fair to them. I do not think, because we're not engaging them. We really are not engaging them. So what we can do is try and localize the problem. What needs to be fixed, for example? Of course, we need roads.
There's a lot we need.
Yes, we need roads.
And I guess the view is that it will take some time to address some of these issues. And that references the point of raising funds to address some of these issues. But let me transition from that discussion to a description the MTN CEO gave you. He says you're a business executive.
I wonder why.
Well. And in that role, businesses have a lot to contribute also to the growth and development of our country. You were in a very interesting area, mining.
Mining, yes.
Yes, which is very male-dominated. Mm-hmm. You're the first woman leader for the Chamber of Mines. Mm-hmm. What was that era like for you, that time of work?
It was extremely interesting, extremely interesting. It was there that I found out that life without mining is impossible. We're sitting on chairs. Maybe we're just thinking of the leather that we're sitting on, but there's some metals in there. Even the leather, to be sewn, you need a machine and you need a needle, and all these are part of mining. In this room, everything here has been affected by mining. Even the food we eat needs, at the basic level, a hoe and a cutlass. In order to do the hoe, you need wood, you have to cut the wood, and you need metal to be able to dig. So mining is actually extremely essential to our everyday lives. Extremely essential to our everyday lives. Maybe we don't feel it too much because Ghana is preponderantly a gold country. And gold does not, how shall I say, the value addition for gold is not as much as, let's say, value addition for bauxite that will become alumina and will become aluminium, which you can use for many things. I mean, when we, in our homes, everybody cooks with some aluminium pot or other. Our ladles are aluminium and so on. Car industry uses a lot of aluminium. The aircraft industry uses a lot of aluminium and so on. Steel, which you get from a combination of iron and manganese, that too is essential. When you go to the hospitals and so on, or even in the food industry, those who manufacture a lot of food or medicines, you see that the bowls that they need to use have to be steel, because steel does not rust and so on. So life without mining is impossible. However, mining needs to be done responsibly, in the sense that mining requires a land take. It requires a land take. So really we need as a country to plan so that mining does not compete with agriculture. Because you do need agriculture. That mining also does not compete with other kinds of development.
I'll come back on that point. Let's take Daniel Tete, who is online,
Yes.
who wants to ask you a
Yes.
question.
Yes.
Hello, Daniel.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Joyce Aryee. You've been a great inspiration to some of us. I think I met you in 2011 at Scripture Union Easter House Party. And I was so blessed. Yes, I want to ask, we know that Ghana is so blessed. The land is so rich. We have a lot of minerals. We have a lot of things. Do you think that it will take us some time to actually be able to get there? Because when we compare ourselves to some of the Europe countries, it looks like we have everything. We are blessed. Now you could hear, China and other people coming to learn certain things from us, even cocoa plantation and all that. So I want to ask, is it going to take some time, or is because of the impact in terms of what we have received from those ahead of us that is causing us to always lag behind? And if that is the case, what kind of mindset or attitude should we have as a people to be able to change the system? Thank you.
Thank you. May I answer?
Yes.
Thank you, Daniel. Do you know, for example, that China has a civilization of more than 6,000 years? China's civilization surpasses that of Europe. When China was an empire and so on, most of these European countries did not exist the way they are now. So there's a body of knowledge. China also has always worked under a singular leadership. They had emperors, and the emperors really controlled a lot. And now under communism, there's a lot of control. That too is helpful. China, I think maybe 30 or maybe 40 years ago, also had a strategic plan to deliberately send their best people to every country that had some technology that they needed. And it wasn't that the people went by themselves. They were sent and brought back. So if you went to America, you went to certain high institutions, you learned a lot, and you came back to contribute to the nation. At a certain stage, because of the low cost of labor, do you know what Europe did? Europe sent almost all their manufacturing to China, to Thailand, to Vietnam, and so on. So what did the Chinese do? You bring them an equipment, they take it apart, they'll produce it for you, but they take it apart and study how it's done, and they produce it for themselves. That's what Japan also did. If you're too young, your mother would tell you that at a certain time, we laughed at Japanese technology. We laughed at the Japanese technology. But that's exactly what they did. They take something, pull it apart, and then redo it. So again, a certain national psyche of China is that China needs to develop and overtake. It's a national psyche. It is led by the Communist Party. The Communist Party deliberately spawns rich people. Yes. If you want to do business outside China, you don't go find, I mean, you take the money from China, give you a low rate because they think that you bring something back to China. So this national psyche of we are a nation, we are a proud nation, we want to also dominate the world is there. That's what also happened to Britain years ago when they decided to become colonizers, you know. Now, I'm not saying we should go and colonize. I'm not even saying that we should have a dictatorial regime. But I'm saying that we should move away from our rights and begin to talk of our responsibilities, you know. When we think of responsibilities, then we will know that, I use this analogy a lot. If you've seen a net, and I know most of you bath with a net, and you're competing with the fishermen. But if you look at the net, you will see that your net's integrity is secure for as long as there's no hole in the middle. Each strand meets the other strand. And it is as the strands stay intact that you can talk of having a net that is useful or fit for its purpose. And as a nation, we should see ourselves as a net. Each strand must fit into the other strand and create the strength that we need to really function. MTN. MTN is a telecom operation, but it cannot stand by itself if the people of this country don't have money, don't have access, have no way of understanding the technology that they want to provide. They haven't done anything. And that is why maybe the foundation would get involved in giving some kind of training to this or helping school get better and so on. So if we have that attitude, Daniel, we would know that each of us has a role to play. It's good to talk about another country without understanding the psyche of that nation. We are now touting Rwanda. In Rwanda, if you drop something, they will fine you or beat you or something like that. What would Ghanaians do? What would Ghanaians do? If you drop something and it is said that you'll be whipped, you get whipped, what will you do? You go and stand on the radio and start talking about how terrible the system is and so on, forgetting that you did something you were not supposed to do. You see? So unless we ourselves are willing to help each other, we talk about a system. We corrupt the system all the time. Let me take, let's say, a school system, getting to school. As soon as the results come, my daughter wanted Achimota, didn't get it, so I go and see the headmistress, right? To take the name of somebody and put my daughter's name there. Why? Isn't that corrupting the system? You have a case in court. You want to go and see the judge. If nothing at all, to just delay the case. Are you not corrupting the system? They say don't throw plastic around. And people try to sell you using paper and you start complaining. The paper will tear, but the paper is biodegradable. And so what we should, even when we go to market, to insist that no, if you are not going to package my thing in paper, I'm not buying from you. No. Look at our streets. People are selling on the streets. Some of them even sell electric iron. And we're willing to stop and buy. That electric iron, how are you going to make sure that it works? Which plug are you going to put it in? But because when you go to the shop, it's selling for an amount much higher than the one on the street. For as long as we buy on the street, people will stand on the street and sell. For as long as you and I are willing to stand on the to buy from the street in our cars. Some of us, we shop as we go home. Bread, apples, all those things. And so we have become, I'm sorry to say, we have become an indisciplined society. We have become indisciplined and self-centered. If something is convenient for us, it's okay. You sit in a trotro, it is not yet a station to stop. Driver may see her. Isn't that it? Driver may see her. And we all do it. Driver may see her, middle of the road. Then he stops. And then we get down. When there's a station, one is in front, you have to wait your turn to join. No, you stand by the roadside. And we who are wanting the trotro, we will breach everything and we go and sit in it. So we've become a nation of self-centered, selfish people. What suits us and is convenient for us is what we want to do. We don't want to think of the next person. And yet we want Ghana to be a nation. When we want Ghana to become a nation, what we need to do is to subsume our interests for the common interest and build and build and build. If not throwing garbage in the gutters will stop flooding, then whether I am at the top and therefore will not get flooded should not be the issue. I must be concerned about the person downstream who will get flooded.
All right, so Reverend Doc, let me take a question from Nana Apenteng, and there's another one. I'll just read it while we
My own Nana Apenteng.
I'm not sure.
Oh. Is he Jan?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
So Eddie Bryan says, great conversation. Please, you mentioned that we need to hold our leaders accountable, but we have a growing culture of our leaders or people in official positions. Their response to issues raised is almost always defensive or political. Mm-hmm. So I'll come to you for an answer to that. But let's take Nana Penteng's question. Nana, please join us. And if anyone wants to ask a question, please click on the raised hand icon and then we can take your question.
Nana, Kojo Jana Penteng, yes.
Okay.
Is it Kofi? Kwesi, oh, it's a K anyway.
Thank you very much.
Nana, I was expecting you in UK. What are you doing here?
Your own not there, but something prevented me. I wanted to be there, but something prevented me. I'm sorry, but really enjoying it. And I have two questions. Would you support the partisan election idea at the local government as a means of probably creating more access to our representatives at that level? The idea came up, but it was scuttled somehow. Would you support it? Second is that it appears to me, particularly judging and gauging from social media, that many people have fallen out of love with our country. As a communication person, as a passionate patriot of many years, how do we get people to love our country again? Thank you.
The first question of making district level elections partisan, I think we'll get there. I think we'll get there because eventually the open secret will no longer be a secret. It will be open. The first says it's an open secret.
It is.
Yes. So you see, what will happen is that the secret will fade and the openness will come. But I think we'll get there. We need a certain maturity, political maturity, and I think we're going to gain it. And later on, that's what's going to happen. Because at the time it was non-partisan. We weren't even thinking of having a partisan national election. So it was supposed to grow from this non-partisan thing, and later on you would have an electoral college that would vote people into a regional assembly, and then later another electoral college that will move people to the National Assembly. So I think that at a certain stage, we'll get there. The second thing, I think that we need a concerted effort to begin to get people to love Ghana. I know most of us are hoping that government will do it, but Nana, let's sit together and let's think of ways in which those of us who are in communication will use the various platforms that we have to begin to do this. But at the government's level, I think that there's nothing wrong in beginning, again, what we used to do. We used to have civics, and we were helped to understand our responsibilities to the nation, our love for the nation. And, you know, on the radio, we used to have, "Arise, Ghana youth, for your country." We should get back. You know, we need this sense of belonging. I know we still talk of our ethnic groups. There's nothing wrong with that. But all ethnicity must build into one solid country. I think differences don't necessarily divide. They can strengthen, because we can actually strengthen ourselves by being you know, stronger based on our various ethnic groups. The thing is, I had this idea some time ago. I shared it with a chief. I'm hoping that, Nana, maybe you and I can do it. I think we should look for 5 values, 5 positive values, and check it against all our ethnic groups. We will find that every ethnic group believes in the same values. That is one point of unity, isn't it? If we all believe in honesty, if we all believe in hard work, if we all believe in humility, if we all believe in respect, then we are all together, are we not? So then we will begin to find ways in which we can talk gradually about a more united Ghana, a Ghana that is proud because its people are proud of her, a Ghana that has power to change, and as Daniel was saying, not wait till 200 years later. But Daniel, you know something? We've come a long way. We've come a long way. We have very high expectations, which is very good. But my invitation is that all of us with such high expectations, let's try and see the little we can do. I'm not asking us to go and stand for election if we don't feel like it. But let's do the things that we can do to really bring about the changes we want to see.
Reverend Dr. Aryee, someone asked a question and asked the response of our leaders are usually very defensive.
Yes, yes.
How can we get them to see what we are saying without being overly defensive?
Sometimes it's the way we put it. You're a communicator. So you know that you can elicit responses based on the way you ask your questions. Because if your questions are accusatory, then the response will be defensive. But if your demands are sort of positive and engaging, then that is what you will get. So maybe for many of us, I know that some of us feel that when you don't go out there and you're passionate about it and you let the person know that you really want this and that, the person will not listen. But I think we all need to learn how to communicate.
All right.
Now, you know, I remember that I could say some very hard things, but it's the way you say it. We say of the Ekwapian people that even before they say something nasty, they will say mpauchose. You know, so then mpauchose minimizes the impact of the information. So I think we need to communicate better.
We were talking about mining before we got into the Q&As, but there's been a major campaign to stop illegal artisanal mining in the country, which has ravaged and devastated many mining communities in the country. Are we on the right path? Should we be burning equipment? How can we ensure a sustainable approach such that mining can be looked at as a valuable contributor to the economy?
I'm glad you talked about illegal, which means that there is legal small-scale mining. There is legal small-scale mining. It becomes legal because it is regulated. You know, as I said, mining takes land, and most mining leave a hole in the ground. Most mining leave a hole in the ground. Now, holes in the ground are not useful. And that's why the regulations will ensure that you cover the hole and replant. That when you need water to do your activities, there's an approved way of extracting the water, damming it on your premises, making sure that it does not go back into a waterway, so that it becomes a recycled thing. So you use the same water and you don't send it anywhere. Now, what we know about illegal mining is that they will pump the water to the site and pump it back into the river. Yeah. That is not done, you know. Now, how do we ensure that people do not do things illegally? First and foremost, we must understand how you get land to mine on. The land is given to mine on. And so if you're going to get land that has not been given to you to mine on, you're illegal. You may be holding a license for another piece of land, but if you choose to work on another piece of land that has not been given to you, it's illegal. A lot of people are talking about the Chinese, I agree. The Chinese have equipment that our illegal miners are using. Everything is written in Chinese. And so unless a Chinese man comes to operate it, no Ghanaian can operate it. That's how they come. You know, their labor is cheap. And so those things. So again, as a country, as people who want to develop, as people who want to make money, why wouldn't we want to make money in a legal fashion? Some people will say, oh, it takes a long time to get a license. Of course it should take a long time to get a license, because everything has to be put in place to make sure that what you do is not deleterious to the environment, and that you have sufficient funds also to do the reclamation. The reclamation is very important. Apart from the reclamation, when you want to extract gold, the approved legal method is to crush it and then use cyanide to extract. Now, everybody knows cyanide is
harmful.
It's a toxin. But the thing about cyanide is that it's biodegradable. And so you have to use it in a measured way. It means that even your use of it is regulated. The way where you keep the cyanide is regulated. And EPA can come and measure how you've done it and so on, and test what's happening. For example, if there's a leakage of cyanide, you know you can dilute it by adding more water. That is how you can deal with it. But most of the illegal miners use mercury. Mercury is non-biodegradable. It stays in the environment for years. In fact, cyanide loses its toxicity as soon as you expose it to light. As soon as you expose cyanide to light, it is no longer a toxin. And so you have to know some of all these things, you know. But the main thing is, why would you want to do the wrong thing when there's a way in which you can do the right thing? That mentality should be very well understood. A lot of people say, people don't have jobs and so on. In our tradition, if you are poor and you don't have a farm, do you go and steal on somebody's farm? Will that be allowed? No, it won't be. But you can go to Papa Kwesi and say, Papa Kwesi, I am very hungry. When you take your tuber, can you give me one? Can I take a bit of your... That is how the community lives. So to say that because you don't have a job, you should do something wrong is a narrative that we need to do away with.
But in dealing with the challenge, there's the view that our approach isn't sustainable. Any views on how we can make it better?
Well, I'm sure the ministry will be taking a lot of views. Why are equipment being, burnt? Is because being the indisciplined people we are, when we take the equipment have wings and they fly from one place to the other. And you would find somebody knowing somebody, going to talk somebody, and then somebody, what I talked about before, how we all corrupt the system. Also, sometimes you need to take some very harsh decisions to set a precedent. Custodial sentences, for example, in prison. Sometimes it's not so much that the sentence itself is the answer, but it becomes some kind of reference point where somebody says, no, I don't want to go through here, and then people stop acting that way. People are talking about there's so much money and so on, and you can use it to build roads. The mining equipment is not used to build roads. So, if you say recycle them, how do you recycle them? And so on. So I think that it is, I'm not the minister, I cannot talk for him.
But I guess for you, hard decisions have to be
made, as we sort out the issues. Now, small-scale mining is a threat everywhere. Everywhere. You go to Latin America, you go to other parts of Africa, and so on. It's a threat. And everybody is trying to regulate it so that you can mine, the country can get a benefit from it, and the miner will also get a benefit from it.
Thank you very much, Reverend Dr. Joyce Aryee. We are here on MTN's Bright Conversations. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you for following us on Facebook, on LinkedIn as well. You can still ask your questions online. Just click on the hand icon, and then we'll take your question. So we can take one now from Melster Efriye. Melster, please go ahead with your question. And if there's anyone with us here who would wish to ask a question, I'll come to you so you can come to the podium. Yes, Melster.
Oh, Meister.
Meister.
I know the guy.
Okay, Meister.
He's a miner.
I beg your pardon. Hello, Meister. Are you on mute? Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, thanks, Reverend. That's a good delivery, and it's always a pleasure listening to you. I have a question, then also react to some other issues of mine. Following from Nana Jana Pente's question and your reaction to it, would you recommend that we have a national body for national reorientation, as far as we have identified what needs to be done, and also to have our values really well inculcated in us, right from at the infancy? That's my question. And the second issue is I want to react to this issue about mining. And also it relates to a lot of issues in our national body politics. And it's about transparency and the way things need to be done right. I remember on this issue about mining and community mining. Nana Jan knows my hometown very well. It's called Domiabra. We were there one day. I went home and I went to the palace, and myself and my other brother, who is also a sub-chief, we went to the palace, and somebody came there apparently with a permit, saying that he has a permit to do mining in that area. And so we asked that he should show us the permit. He said, oh, he's shown the thing to the chiefs already, and they have agreed, and they've seen that it's genuine. And we insisted that we wanted to see it. Then it came out that this person has a prospecting license, which at that time had even expired. And the chiefs had virtually given him the green light to go ahead. And we said no. We went to the Minerals Commission, and our fears were confirmed. Additionally, when we came, and another time there was a lot of pressure from other quarters that they wanted to have community mining in our community. And we said that, look, even though the gold is abundant in that area, per the policy on community mining, we cannot say that we really qualify to go under community mining, even though a few people were clamoring for it, because we said we had weighed all the issues, and we think that for our community, the social ills and the other social vices far outweigh the economic gains. Because one thing that we also observed, that even though when we talk about community mining, when you go to that area, you realize that most of the miners don't even come from that community itself. And that is an issue that needs to be looked at, because you have other people who are coming into that community and causing all sorts of things. And that is my observation. It's about transparency. And if we get the local people informed and about what it's and what should be the policy, I think that Ghana as a country, we can move far. That's my take on that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Aryee. Much appreciated for your contribution. And we're still here on MTN.
The name is Meister.
Meister. All right. I said Mr. Aryee because I didn't...
Mr. Meister.
Because I didn't want to get caught up in that. But thank you very much for that. So we're still here on MTN's Bright Conversations with Reverend Dr. Joyce Aryee. So we'll transition from mining into... He had a question. It sounded more like a contribution, but if...
No, the mining was a contribution.
Yes.
But he wondered whether we should set up an institution
great,
to do
for
that.
national
I think
reorientation.
we do have some existing institutions which we need to maybe take a look at and put some other institutions.
I think that would be the National Council for Civic Education.
That, and then maybe part of National Commission on Culture, so we can put a team together from existing institutions instead of establishing a new one.
All right.
Yes.
Now, I want to just move on in terms of the overall view of leadership. You're a communications person, a public relations executive, a business executive, so many things.
That's what the business executive, I don't understand
I don't know if this has come to your mind, but I tend to get the sense that there are many business people who don't really see the value of how you engage and communicate.
That is true.
In an effort to, lead in the proper way and then demonstrate the values of true leadership that we are looking for: openness, transparency, having a sense of social justice and the like. What would you want to see from our leaders generally, whether it's public leaders, whether it's business leaders or executives, in that aspect?
Interestingly, things are changing because the business schools, GIMPA, and other institutions are promoting leadership training.
I think MTN does it quite well, I must admit.
And many more people now agree that they need some knowledge about leadership. So I think what we need to do is to maybe let people who run their own businesses know the advantage that they will have. Because if you run a business, you have a target group, you have people you want to either sell your ideas or sell your product or something, and that you need to have the skills. A lot of skills don't get taught in the classroom as such, but that post-classroom you can get some of these skills to be able to be a better business person. Because I don't think anybody wants to be a business person who does not grow, who does not progress. So I think the idea is that, look, it doesn't matter how skillful you are about selling something or about providing something, there's still a lot to know, because it's no longer about you. It's about how you relate to other people. And that communication skills are extremely important.
Would you say that has been a game changer for you? Maybe you didn't deliberately learn communications in terms of how you present and all that, but would you say that in mastering that art, that has been a game changer for you and your success?
Definitely, but I did learn a bit of it also. But then I've always, I guess, had this passion to engage and so on. So, but it's still learning always adds something to what is even latent. It's like music. You sing very well, but when you are introduced to the art of singing, you know how you breathe and what your diaphragm does and how you expand your voice, and so you become better.
Let's talk about education.
Yes.
Because it's the fundamental thing that can transform people, as Mandela said, from poverty to a better life. Young people, I know, continue to get the education, but there's a concern that the kind of education young people are getting is nothing like what your generation got. What do you make of how young people feel in terms of their education, our new curriculum and systems? Is that the way to go?
It's amazing. I think they're getting a few things better than we did. Don't forget that, okay, I finished university in 1969. Oh, why are you saying that? Some of you, your mothers were not even born. But in 1969, we were a very small community. The educated people were very few, so getting jobs was not a problem. You were on campus and people were looking for you, you know. The population is growing. Ways of doing things are changing. In my time, there was nothing like IT. Now, my 11-year-old granddaughter can do so much, you know, on IT. Maybe part of the problem, I think, is that we seem to think because we've studied something, we should walk into a job. Some people go and do finance and banking at the university, and they think that immediately they finish, they should walk into a bank and they will be employable. You see?
So the difference in terms of education is the disconnect between industry or the professional life?
Partly a disconnect. The disconnect is in industry, and the disconnect is also in the people who are studying. At a certain time when I served on the Ghana Employers Association, we worked a lot with industry so that we could have internships and so on. But let's face it, how much industry do we have in Ghana? How many people are, let's say, studying marketing? How many companies do we have that need to employ marketing executives? You see, it doesn't mean that because I've studied marketing, I should go and work in a corporate organization. I can actually, you know, use my skills to help even those selling in the market. Help them do things better. I studied accounting. Now, if you study accounting and you get a degree for it, you're not an accountant until you get the ACCA
or CA.
Or something like that. That's what makes you an accountant. Yeah. Okay, so you studied. How would you give that back? I think it's important. But classroom education, especially up to SHS, ought to be the fundamentals. And I'm glad the ministry is talking about numeracy, literacy, and science. These are the fundamentals. These are the building blocks. When you build on the blocks, then you are able to do things. In Ghana, we denigrate vocational skills. We denigrate vocational skills a lot. And yet, if you want to go into manufacturing, you just don't need the person with the highest qualification to be the CEO or something. But you also need people who can actually do the manufacture. I went to a factory for major car, big trucks in Germany. And all the things, those who were there, very few of them, everything they did was without knocking and hammering, and so it was just tools that they needed to screw things in. And the people who produced them was not the company making but different people producing bolts, nuts, other things that they would need. That is how you expand. You know, so if you want to make a car, you don't have to have everything. Somebody will be doing the car knob, somebody the car door knob, somebody will be doing the panel, somebody will be doing the lights, and so on. You bring all together and you assemble. So we need to let our people understand that vocational education is not just being sewing machine, you know, but that in this technological world, the game changer is vocational and technical skills. And we need to engage more people. There will be more jobs. There aren't going to be many jobs in the humanities. There are going to be more jobs in the sciences, in the vocational skills, in the technical skills. You do need a bit of the humanities and so on, because you know, you still need people to teach language. That's in the humanities, isn't it? You need people to teach other skills that are in the humanities. So it's very important for us to understand education in its totality and also redirect our minds. I was talking to a lady today, and I was talking about how we even look down on our drivers. We don't expect them to have gone to school much, but we expect them to be able to understand the new technology of digitalization. Press this and press that and press that. And we're quite willing to put our lives, you know. But it is time to insist that somebody who's going to drive must know IT, must understand auto mechanics, and so on and so forth. That way, you will have people with education, but engage in a job that they like. Some people love driving. I had a driver who went to technical school and learned to be a sprayer. But he loved driving so much. He left that spraying job, and his heart is in driving. There are people like that. So again, let's put value on some of the things that we do. Let's put value on some of the things that we do. If you take our food industry, the one who is roasting the plantain, are we going to let the person just have that fiaseamo with charcoal and the net on it? Is there a better way of doing it? That will come from people studying science, studying technical arts, and so on. They are the people who will bring the change.
Thank you very much, Reverend Dr. Joyce Aryee, for that exposition on education. Have you always been religious?
I don't consider myself religious. I consider myself one who is passionately following the Lord Jesus Christ.
So you're a woman of God, evangelist, and motivator.
Yeah.
Is that a good way to put it?
I guess so.
How did this then come about?
Well, I accepted Christ in 1964. And then I backslided for many years. But God was patient with me and returned me to himself with more fire. The way I see Christianity is that it's a way of life. a wonderful way of life, in the sense that in Christianity, it's God who comes down to our level to raise us to his level, and doesn't just do that by letting Christ die to take away our sin nature. But what God does is to actually come and take residence in us by his Spirit, which means that we have the fullness of God living in us. And if God is creator, if God is protector, if he's provider, and he's living in you and he's living in me, can you imagine what we can do? So that we see things from a different perspective than thinking that we're following a religion. Because religion is really man in search of God. But Christianity is God finding man and making man better. That's the way I put it. So that's what I'm passionate about. So I talk a lot about the fact that, look, God is interested in you being the best that he has created you to be. But you have to acknowledge it. First of all, you have to acknowledge that by yourself, there isn't very much you can do. Paul will say, the things I don't want to do, I do. It's true. We are all attracted by so many things. But to know that you have the power to say no, it's wonderful. To know that I have the power not to steal what does not belong to me. I have the power not to lie about somebody else. I have the power not to corrupt the system. A lot of people come to me looking for jobs, and I tell them, I don't have a job to give. This company, I said, do you know whether they are recruiting? You say, well, they may not. I said, but if they are not recruiting, how do I go and tell them, you're not recruiting, but take this person? How do I do that? So even the power to be able to explain things to people, they may not like it, but at least you've done the right thing. And that's how we should see Christianity. And all of us who call ourselves Christians, but are willing to do so many things selfishly, I think now we should take a different look at whether we are Christians or not. Because the Bible says that if the Spirit of Christ does not live in you, you are not a Christian. So let's check.
All right. Let me take a final question online. Jessica Jimfi, you can ask your question, and I think that will be our last question, and then we will be wrapping up the MTN's Bright Conversations with Reverend Dr. Joyce Aryee. Jessica, are you ready?
Yes. Hello?
Yes, please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Is it afternoon already?
Almost.
Oh, sorry, it's afternoon where I am. Before I give my two questions, I'd just like to touch on the last thing that Dr. Joyce Aryee said about Christianity being a way of life. It's a conversation that I've been having with people this week, actually.
Oh,
if we compare, our Christian brothers and sisters to our Muslim brothers and sisters, you can see that Islam is a way of life. Whereas with Christians, some of us see Christianity as a Sunday job. So, that just hit a nerve there for me. So I have two questions for you, Dr. Aryee. The first is that leadership is very important in every area of our lives, more so if you run a country. And I personally believe in servant leadership. Do you think that our leaders operate using this leadership style? So that's my first question.
If you can repeat that,
whether our leaders, consider leadership as servant leadership?
Okay, go ahead.
So that's my first question. And then my second question is that I'm sure many of us on the platform have heard of a guy called Trini Jonas, who is currently in America. Some of his slogans are Glass in Kwa and Shefom, Heaven on Earth 24/7. For me personally, I've listened to some of what he has to say. He seems like he's very passionate about us making Ghana better and holding our leaders to account. But I can't listen to him for too long because the insults are too many. But do you think that he has any valid points in the arguments that he makes?
All right. Okay, so Trini Jonas is a social media activist. He employs a lot of very harsh language in trying to convey his thoughts about the challenges in Ghana and why things are the way they are and why our leaders should be doing better and are not. So I think the point he's trying to make is, does he have a point? And maybe is there a better way he could approach it?
Well, I have always believed that no one person has all the wisdom, and that even whilst you point out how you think things can be done, unless you listen to why whoever is acting is doing what he's doing, you may think that you know how to do it. Let me use a very, very banal illustration. I've just realized that there's a fufu machine.
Yes.
Which I'm going to get, and some people swear by pounding, and they will never eat unless it's pounded. So maybe you will, I will find the person still pounding to be primitive. But the person too can say that, look, all this electricity passing through the fufu has some, negative things and so on, but that when you are pounding, at least you can see what's happening, So leadership, servant leadership, and so that's my thing. I don't think anybody has the right to be insulting when he's trying to press a point about how things can be better. I don't think anybody should do that. It actually shows that you're not a good communicator. If you have to insult to put your point across, you're not a good communicator. So I don't think it's right. Now, number two, the person lives in the comfort of America or lives here in Ghana.
Is it the Mr. Trini Jonas or the
I don't
lady
know.
who asked the question?
No, not Jessica, the Trini Jonah.
Yes, I understand he isn't here. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. And then this servant leadership. Leadership can be drilled down to one word: influence, positive influence, positive influence. Because we are not talking about the leader of the gang. We are not talking about a leader who leads somebody to do wrong. We're talking about a leader who's able to harness all the resources of the people he's dealing with for something better. But it's influence, isn't it? Because in the final analysis, are you able to communicate or articulate certain things that, inspires people to want to do the right thing? And it's servant leadership because, frankly, there are many leaders. And whenever you get to head a place, you are the privileged person. And that is what in Latin they will say, primus inter pares. You are the first among equals. Primus inter pares. A leader is always a primus inter pares. And the best thing is that you recognize that everybody has something to give, and that your duty is more or less like the coordinator, the one who has the to harness. However, as the first among equals, you must have a vision, because it's the vision that's going to attract people to follow you. But you must also be a good follower. If you are not able to follow, don't expect others to follow you. Like this person who's insulting all the time, who's going to follow him? Do you get me? So a leader must also have the spirit of following. That's what makes you a servant. A servant who wants to bring the best out of people. But you recognize that you have a vision, you have a passion, you have a way of articulating things. People get drawn to you, and therefore you can create a change. You can be a major influence, a major positive influence. Not many people understand it that way, because we live in a society too where people say that if you are not dictatorial, some people will not follow you. And it's true. There are some people who would only respond to harshness. There are some people also who think that you have to discuss everything, so that even if you're in the house with your children and you want to cook, you should ask child A, what would you like to eat? Child B, what would you like to eat? Child C, what would you like to eat?
That may be realistic if you just have 2 children, but more than that.
One child, But the thing is that what goes into all the cooking? What is the cost of cooking different things? Where,
at the same time.
You have to raise people to understand that there's a way in which we, again, surrender what we think is our rights for the common good. You see? So a leader must be able to do that. You need to let people know that, yes, we, at a certain time, we surrender our own personal interests for the common good. A leader who is able to do that is very helpful. We need to learn how to do that, and humility is the key.
A final question we're taking from Abdullah. Abdullah, good afternoon. I think it's almost 12.
Yeah,
okay, not yet, but
not
we're almost there. So hello, and please ask your question.
Jalilu, that's a lovely name.
Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Abdullah,
Hi.
good afternoon.
Please, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, sir.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Please, my name is Abdullah Jalilu, calling from. In fact, I'm very good. My here is public service for long. What are some of the measures you've taken to overcome them that you face? This is my question, please.
What?
Sorry, can you repeat your question because we didn't hear you? The line broke.
The measures you've.
Yes, can you repeat the question because the line was a bit bad?
Yeah. Okay. The question is, having been in the public service for long, what are some of the challenges she faced and she was able to compromise and develop some measures to overcome them for we the young ones to learn from?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Abdullah. Abdullah is asking, what are the challenges you experience in public service? How were you able to overcome them, and your thoughts to the youth?
One of the challenges that we have is a certain level of, how should I put it, lack of urgency that is in the public service. You know, it's almost like the 24 hours is even, you know, their decisions can take a long time. No, that is a great challenge. And sometimes when you decide that when you have a job to do, you will do it, you can be a laughing stock of your friends, you know, who think that it's okay, you know, it can take a long time. So that was one of the challenges that I felt when I first entered the public service. But for me, I wasn't going to be fazed by that, because the thing is that if something can be done in 30 minutes, why do it in 5 hours? Because if there's 5 hours available, you can use it for something else. If nothing at all, you can read and get better, you know. So that is one of the things that don't let yourself get caught up in this, I don't know whether it's a tradition or whatever it is, that everything has to take a long time. No. The second thing is, because of the lack of urgency, the temptation for people to influence what you need to do. Because if somebody brings something for which a decision is needed, and you happen to be part of the chain that take it to where the decision needs to be taken, if it's taking long and the person is desperately in need of it, the person might feel obliged to give you something so that you will do your work. You know, so whether the envelope is white, whether the envelope is brown, whether it is green, accepting envelopes to do the work for which you are employed is something to be avoided. You have to avoid it very much. You know, if you are in the chain, sometimes you are the lower chain, you know, and you just sit on it. It's almost as if you want the person to come and move you to do it. So that habit should change. You do your work. Let your friends laugh at you, because they will. Why, is it your father's job? That's what they will say. Is it your father's job? You know. So these two major things. First, we should have a sense of urgency for whatever we have to do. You know, 7 hours is what we spend in the office, basically. Within the 7 hours, you should be able to achieve a lot. Set yourself some personal goals. Set yourself some personal goals, because after all, you need to have fulfillment for the work you do. And let me say that don't just take a job for the sake of a job. When you feel so dissatisfied with a job, the door is always open for you to go through. Don't let people say, what will you eat? And so, because if you don't feel fulfilled, you'll be a bad worker. And you will not help the organization to go on, because your vibes will be so negative. So 1, choose to work hard. Number 2, it's almost like a rider. Don't accept envelopes or whatever it is to influence what you're doing. And number 3, set yourself some personal goals so that you can achieve. Abdullahi, I hope you heard me.
All right, thank you very much, Reverend Dr. Joyce Aryee. That's individual work ethic,
yes.
Building it and improving on it for the future and making an impact ultimately wherever you are.
Yes.
We are coming to the end of this very interesting conversation. And I have one particular question I need to ask you, otherwise we can't close. This event is part of MTN's 25th anniversary. MTN has come a long way. From the days of being space phone to Ariba.
Ariba, yes.
And they had some wonderful advertising back then, I must say, about how they're trying to, you need to get a phone, otherwise you can't call the girl. And then you throw a window and break the glass.
Oh dear.
So
why did they have to do that? We girls so
they broke the wrong glass, unfortunately. What do you love about the mobile phone? And what advice do you have for telecom operators in Ghana?
What do I love about the mobile phone?
Yes, love was the specific word you used.
What do I love about the mobile phone? I love the mobile phone because it is very, very easy to contact people using the mobile phone. Now with the current technology also, I can be anywhere and still do my emails and write my letters using the email. I can also do WhatsApp. I use the mobile divide to do a lot of ministry by sending messages. You know, so I love it because it's so easy. BBC. You know what BBC is?
Born before computers.
Yeah. Born before computers. But I'm trying.
But you do use a PC. You do use a laptop.
Oh, the PC is always frightening for me.
Oh, tablet.
Okay. I find it easier to do a tablet. I have a PC sitting in front of me. It's an Amaga now.
But at least you use a tablet, so
yes.
So that's,
occasionally I use it. I don't like this when you're moving your finger or using a mouse. Why do I want a mouse in my house?
So you do love the mobile phone.
I do love
when you think back to
what were we doing without it?
Yes, I ask myself how we got around.
But isn't that what
it.
technology is?
But there were fixed lines, though.
There were fixed lines that you couldn't. When I was growing up, there were telephone booths. There were telephone booths which were stationed within a certain radius. And if you wanted to make a phone call, you went to the booth and you made your call. The most interesting was when you wanted to make an external call. In Accra, there was only one place you could go to.
The post office.
No, not the post office itself alone, but there was a place where you could do external calls. That's on the high street. It's on the high street. He remembers. You have to go there, and there will be a queue. You know, of course, now at the tap of a button, you can do that. So the mobile technology has come a long way. I would like to see mobile telephony being used to help educate us. You know, give us some more values. You know, and I'm glad that now we are targeting farmers. We are targeting fishermen. We're giving them information about crops. We're telling them about weather patterns, and so all these things are very good, you know.
And what do you see the future?
Oh, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it. I have a feeling that in the future, even before I think, the telephone knows about it.
We'll know about it.
You know. But all this is very funny. I used to watch a lot of films, and science fiction was part of it. And I remember watching science fiction about people speaking to each other on the telephone. I said, we'll never get there. And now we're doing Skype. We're doing Skype, we're doing Zoom, we're doing Teams.
All sorts of things.
All sorts of things. I mean, here we are sitting down, somebody is calling from way back, and we can even see the person. It's amazing. I don't want to think about it.
Any final words, Reverend Dr. Aryee?
My final words, first of all, is to thank MTN for making me a part of this program, and to say that those of us who get interviewed, happen to be the few who are known. But there are many people doing great things out there who may not yet be known. And so I am tasking MTN to start looking for the less well-known but very effective leaders in their own small way, who can also come and talk about how they have also succeeded in their fields. I know MTN has a heroes program,
yes.
So that is one of it. But again, you need to come into the big limelight. But it would be useful to go to a farmer who has benefited a lot from agriculture and who can use that to encourage those of us who are educated and can even do agriculture better.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Reverend Dr. Joyce Aryee,
yes.
The Chief Executive and Founder of the Salt and Light Ministries. Thanks to everyone. A round of applause. I think that's appropriate. Thanks to everyone who's joined us, the leadership of MTN and all staff and everyone else following on MTN's social media handles. At this point, I would like to call upon Mr. Samuel Cranting, who is the Chief Corporate Services Executive here at MTN. Okay, I'm told that the Corporate Services Executive, Gina Fiagbenu, will join us to give us some closing remarks. So please let's welcome Gina.
Thank you very much, Jifa. This has been wonderful. I mean, it's more engaging than we all anticipated. So I think another round of applause for our beautiful ladies. In the past, we used to say, oh, let's go to the old woman and learn or sit at her feet and learn some wisdom. But fortunately for us, we didn't have to go to any old woman. We had to go to a very young woman.
Young and sassy.
Very young and sassy woman. So we are not just learning about public service and leadership and how to manage the environment and how to be disciplined and all that. We are also learning how to take good care of ourselves.
Thank you.
So that at 75, we'll also look like 30 or 25. So thank you so much, Reverend.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And I wish that my boss, Sam, who is the Corporate Services Executive, were here. He came and sat here for a while, but he's been called into an urgent meeting. So he asked me to say thank you on his behalf, and also grateful. On behalf of the entire leadership of MTN. Most of our staff were online, and some were also sending a lot of messages. So everybody has been very excited. And we've seen and heard from people from all walks of life. It's been very, very engaging. So I would like to thank you so sincerely for spending time with us. He came like an hour before time to get settled. And she's a living example of what we all need to do. Just living what we say and not just saying, oh, do this without doing it. So there's so much that we are learning from her. And Jifa has been excellent.
Excellent.
So
as
another
usual.
Round of applause
as usual.
for Jifa for doing an excellent job. And to the team, the technical team, the communications team, the entire staff of MTN, you've already wished us happy anniversary, but the anniversary goes on. And we hope that will bring you another very exciting and engaging session. But we've taken Reverend Doctor's word to look for, people who are not normally in the public domain. Yeah. So we need to go down and maybe down or up, because
Yes.
there are people up there,
Yes.
Up the ladder who may, not be in the public domain. So that's a task she's given to us. And we've taken it up, we've taken the challenge, and we'll ensure that we are able to achieve a balance between those who are already in the public domain and those who are also working behind the scenes. So that's very good advice for us. Thank you so much. And to all of you who attended, the media and all our partners, thank you. God richly bless all of you, and see you in the next session. Thank you. Have a good day.
Call you back to the podium because you have to do the fastest finger competition, after which we will sign off. So if you can just quickly come. So will we do the competition or we'll wrap it up? We'll wrap it up. Okay, no problem. So once again, many thanks on behalf of everyone who joined us here for the program. Thanks to all of you who followed us online as well. Thanks to the MTN leadership and executives, and of course the staff, and of course thanks for hosting us here as well. Reverend Dr. Joyce Aryee, thank you once again.
Thank you, Jifa.
Your ginger hair is an inspiration. and for those of us who are not bold enough to do something different,
if I've done it, you can do it.
I
because
think it's something to look at. But you look wonderful.
Thank you.
Continue to remain blessed.
Thank you.
And may you continue to be in good health.
Amen.
All right. My name is Jifa Bampo.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us. Good
Thank
afternoon.
you, Jifa. One.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Please don't do this, Amanda. Please, Amanda.
Yo, Nana.
Amanda just left me right, you know. The things I've done for this girl, who would that be like me? I carry goods from Abugloshi to Kaneshi.
Catch up with family and friends like never before. Just pay for only the first minute of your call and pay absolutely nothing for the rest of your call.
See, Amanda has left me. Huh? You know the most painful part? See, after doing it for my hand, thank you. This is my last hope. Amanda has left me.
See, bro, Mr. Fakusia left me.
But you also.
Plus, you also get 50 megabytes a day just for your first call.
Could you, Charlie? Amanda left me.
Yeah, she made you carry load.
Oh.
Dial *550# to subscribe to MTN Free after once a day.
Amanda.